What the motherfudgin' fudge is good, everybody? My name is PJ. In this video, we're doing a Q&A, and I hope you enjoy it. Hope you guys are doing really well. This is going to be a bit of a long one, but it's gotten to that point where I have a few questions in my DMs and I can't be bothered typing them out with my thumbs on my phone. So I thought I'd whack them in a video. And beyond that, I also got some more questions from you guys in the Legends Club. So join up if you would like to be a part of these videos in the future. Facebook.com/groups/BigPantsLegends. Let's go. First question comes from Rikki McGrath. Rikki is a professional drone pilot. I have tremendous respect for him. He's worked on TV shows and short films and all sorts of unreal stuff, and he's an absolute gun. Hey PJ, I'm reaching out to you for your YouTube expertise. Well, you've come to the right place. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Rikki. In the midst of starting up my own YouTube channel, mainly to track my own progression within the realms of body movement, breakdancing, tricking, flips and shit, and whatever else may eventuate, the theme is based on progression, showing people that everyone starts as a novice, and over time, with dedication and practice, eventually you become capable at something. Blah, 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 blah. Wants to know what gear to invest in. Starting off filming with an Osmo, which I believe is like a little DJI kind of like GoPro type of thing with a gimbal, I think too. Oh, the Osmo is the gimbal, the X3 is the camera. Okay, I get it. That's what I filmed the first opening segments with. Thinking of purchasing a lapel mic that I'll tape underneath my shirt so I'm able to describe what I'm doing. Filming, editing, animating all by myself. Do you have any tips to getting started or any pitfalls that you found yourself that I should avoid? Any help would be much appreciated. Rikki, you've done the best thing you can possibly do and just start with what you have and just start doing it. You've already recorded and animated openings for 3 segments. Fantastic. That's really, really good. Personally, I probably wouldn't film it with the X3 camera. To my knowledge, it's like a little action cam type of thing, and like I said, it's fantastic that you've just started with what you have, but I think with someone with a film background like yourself, I think you'll get sick of that pretty quickly. So I'd probably get yourself a little mirrorless body. If you can afford it, get something that does 4K. It's not essential, but I think if you're going to spend the money, you may as well future-proof yourself so you've got some room to grow with the gear that you buy. I shoot a little A6500. Our mutual friend Dylan, PS, he loves the little GH5, I think he has, the Panasonic GH5, which is fantastic, but you know, they're a couple of grand, so it's totally up to you. To be honest, even like a decent phone, like a newish iPhone would do a pretty good job. I just know that the action cameras have this sort of baked in look a little bit. Even if you do the GoPro has Pro Tune and stuff, it's just not the same, and you just don't have the same creative control that you would with a regular camera. In terms of a microphone, I don't know if a lapel mic is going to be the option for you, particularly if you're doing backflips, and I've seen you do crazy handstands and stuff. In fact, I've photographed you doing that, and I just don't know if that's going to work because you're going to have a little wireless pack that you clip on. Those kits, I've got one. They're a little bit pricey. I think you can probably get something from between 500 and 700. Maybe talk to your boy John Servid, who's sponsored by Rode. He might hook a brother up, but I honestly don't know if that's the best situation. I think you might be better off with a little Rode VideoMic Pro, and you don't have to flip and talk at the same time, do you? So I just stand a couple of feet closer to the camera, explain what you're doing, stand back, do your trick, and if you need to, I'd probably voice it over or narrate it afterwards. You can get a pretty cheap microphone like what I'm talking to right now, a USB microphone, about $200, and the quality is super, super good. So I'd probably do that, Rikki. In terms of avoiding any pitfalls, the hardest thing about a YouTube channel, this goes for anyone starting a channel or just making content in general, the hardest thing is consistency. The hardest thing is to stick to a schedule, or just in general to say that you're going to do something and actually stick to it. Oh my goodness, this is the absolute hardest part, because life happens. When us as, small-time creators, we don't have the facilities and the time and the resources to do this on a full-time basis. So we do it when we can, and we fit it in around our lives. It's just things happen, and we make excuses and we get busy, and it's just so hard to be consistent. So what I would do is do something to keep yourself accountable. I highly recommend checking out a website called stick.com, stickk.com. You can make yourself an accountability contract and commit to doing something. For example, you might do 1 or 2 videos a week, and if you don't report them in time on Stick, then they'll take, you can set an amount. But for example, I was doing it, and they would take $50 from my PayPal account and give it to my mate if I didn't meet the deadline. So I think you need something. You do need a deadline. You need something to keep yourself accountable. Otherwise, your uploads will be sporadic and your growth will be very, very slow. Hope that's helped, Rikki. I don't know if you've got any stuff on a channel already, but I would highly recommend joining the Legends Club and posting your channel in there. I'll give it a plug, and we can all follow along. I'm super interested to see what you do. It sounds really cool. Let's move it right along. Next question comes from Aries Bayeta on Instagram. Hi, I'm an avid follower and watched your Lightroom tutorial techniques. Can you do a tutorial on how to achieve the edits of Monsimi? He has a real captivating photo and the editing is lit. Much love from Manila. Thank you for the question, Aries. Let me just get this up real quick. So I had a bit of a look through this guy's Instagram, and it's really beautiful, like lovely, soft, muted, pastel-y tones. It's a very trendy style at the moment. I kind of tried to work out how I would approach it, and I think to start with, you need files that are going to be similar to what this guy's photos are. I believe he's Vietnamese, and it looks like a lot of his stuff is shot in that sort of like cloudy, overcast Asian weather. I can only assume Vietnam is like that because the parts of Asia that I've seen have been like that. And yeah, I definitely need, I would love to give it a crack. In fact, I might do it as a raw edit challenge. And so I said to Aries, if you send me some photos, I will make a video trying to recreate these edits, or at least I'll try and recreate and explain the edits. And I think that'd be really fun. Aries sent me a couple of pictures. This is what I've got so far. Oops. The pictures are great. The style suits, and even the tones suit a little bit, but they are JPEGs, so I'm gonna hold off for now. Aries, if you can send me some raw files in a similar style, I'd be happy to break down the edit for you and attempt to do my own and make, my own preset out of that. I think that's a really, really cool idea, and it could be just a fun, challenging thing for the community. But I just don't know how far we're going to get with the JPEGs. But I'm definitely going to follow this guy. I absolutely love the look of his photos, and yeah, really cool. We'll definitely do something with that in future. Thank you so much for the question, man. Next one comes from Stephen Cook @_Stephen R. Cook_ on Instagram. What do you do if you find yourself in a creative rut? Like, how do you manage to bust out of it? Been struggling lots with this, and any help would be neato. Excuse me while I have a drink. This is very relevant because I've kind of just gone through this myself, to be honest, with YouTube. I'm shooting every day now. I'm shooting full time, and when you're creating stuff for someone else constantly, you just don't have the drive and the inspiration to come home and create stuff for yourself, because you just don't want to touch the camera. You just want to sit down and watch Netflix and play video games. What do I do personally in a creative rut? Personally, for me, I have to be in the correct environment to be productive. This is with my editing, with my YouTube at least. Photography is a little bit different, but with my YouTube stuff, to be creative and happy making content, I need my environment to be good. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll just declutter my rooms. If you guys are friends with me on Facebook, you will see me constantly just removing stuff from my life, selling stuff on Facebook groups, and just getting rid of stuff that I don't need anymore. I find if there's just less physical distractions around me, I can just concentrate on what I'm doing more. Another thing that I'll say, unfortunately, is I kind of have to turn off the TV shows and podcasts and YouTube videos that I play in the background. I often do this thing where, I don't know, sometimes I'm just super ADD where I'll like watch Netflix or I'll watch something in the background while I'm editing. But the truth is it's just super distracting. Yes, it's fun. It's a little hit of dopamine to feel like you're doing two things at once, and it feels good at the time, but it's just so not productive. So I would probably maybe find some sort of instrumental music or something that you can just tune out in the background that'll satisfy that little ADD part of your brain. This is in my case anyway. I don't know if you're the same, Stephen, but something like that works. TV shows, podcasts, stuff that you have to actively listen to, not good for creativity and productivity. In terms of actually shooting, I think you need to shoot something purely for yourself, even if you don't edit it or post it anywhere. If you are constantly posting stuff for likes on Instagram, or if you're constantly working on stuff for a client, or you're shooting stuff for jobs, or if there's some sort of constraints or pressure on what you're creating, I think it just takes the fun out of it, and it just it kind of crushes your creative soul a little bit. So in my opinion, when things aren't going well, I need to go out and shoot something, and sometimes not even edit it. Sometimes just take pictures for the joy of taking pictures. Maybe you'll have a little play around on Lightroom. It might be of a landscape, or it might be some portraits in the park or something, or just something with a friend, some little personal creative project. But I, in a weird way, would recommend not posting it, because then you're not trying to get approval, you're not trying to collect likes, or you're not seeking attention. You're just creating for the sake of it, and it's very freeing. It's a nice feeling. That's kind of random. I don't know. That's what works with me. Just to sum it up, declutter your workspace and just remove any distractions from your life in general. My bedroom and my office they reflect my mental state. You can tell what I'm like in here by looking at my rooms, to be honest. So that's definitely the first thing. Just declutter and just set aside time to just focus on one thing at a time instead of trying to do 10. And the other thing is shoot for the sake of shooting. Shoot for the enjoyment. Don't deliver. Don't post it up anywhere. Just go outside and take pictures. Even just, go to a local park or nature reserve or something, Stephen, and just set yourself, do a 36 frame challenge. Take 36 photos. Don't delete. Don't change them. Just shoot 36 frames. Make the best you can. Do something like that will feed your soul and stretch you a little bit and make you a little bit uncomfortable, but make you forced to create. I can't speak highly enough for that sort of thing. That was a really rambly answer. I'm sorry, man. I don't know if it was helpful. I hope so. Let me know. Next question is from Daryl Orelaza, at Daryl Orelaza on Instagram. What do you find more stressful, having no control and trying to get good live shots in 3 songs, no flash, or having to actually direct a subject / model / person in a more controlled setting whilst getting the right light? It's actually a good question, Daryl, and if you were to ask me on different days, I might have different answers. Personally, I haven't shot much live music lately in the last 6 months or 12 months, so I know last time I did, I can't even remember when the last time I did. Maybe Invasion Fest or shortly after. At first, I actually did find it kind of stressful because I wasn't in the groove and I wasn't in the habit of making those photos. You stress about focusing in a dark room, or am I in the right place to get the best shots? Or if you don't do that regularly, it is a little bit stressful because, especially at local shows, just the situation is never ideal. The lighting's not usually good, and you have to work for it a little bit more. On the flip side, it can also be very stressful if you're, one-on-one with the person, or if you have to light and set something up to provide this polished, well-lit, controlled environment, as you put it. personally, I really enjoy that. I find it a little bit stressful at the start when you're first meeting someone and when you're first setting up and just doing light tests and stuff. That's when it's a little bit stressful, but once you start shooting, I just kind of feel like I get into the zone and into the rhythm, and it's not that bad at all. So honestly, at this stage in my life, probably getting good live shots in 3 songs is more stressful than shooting someone's portrait or something like that. But yeah, it depends on what I've been doing. If I haven't been shooting live music, definitely, I think that's probably my answer. Probably the 3 songs, no flash, but they both have their stresses. What would you say, man? Do you shoot much music? I know you are a professional assistant in Digitech. Is that right? I think I saw on your Instagram. Drop me a comment. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you for the question, man. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my voice. Connie Smith. Do you have any advice on how to start networking? I'm really bad at talking to people and don't know the first thing about networking. Connie, this is a really tricky one. Are you talking just generally in life, or you're talking about trying to hustle more jobs, or you just want to get more connections in the photography industry with other photographers? Because the answers that I would give are a little bit different in each case. In terms of like the music community, because that's kind of what I grew up with and that's where my photography grew, I would say that it is important to have a bit of a network of other photographers and creative people. And the best way to do that is to remove yourself as a threat, because we kind of do this thing at shows where we just want to prove ourselves, right? We just want to show everyone else at the show that we're professional and we're doing a good job, and it's this weird ego thing in music. I used to think that I wasn't a part of it, but then, I think everyone thinks that, and then subconsciously you just do things or you think things and you realize you're just as much a part of it as everyone else. So the first thing that I would do is, if you see someone at a show, particularly someone who you might know them online or you're familiar with their work or follow them on Instagram, I would first of all approach them from a place of giving, not from a place of trying to front and flex and show off how good you are. I might see you at a show, Connie, and I'd say, hey, you're Connie, right? My name's PJ. I saw that thing you posted on Instagram the other day, and I absolutely love what you did with those band promos. To be honest, I actually learned this from another photographer a couple of years ago at Unify, Kurt Thompson. Kurt, I know you watch the videos, but I don't know if you'll be watching this random one. Kurt is an absolute gun photographer in his own right. He's someone that I admire a lot, and he plays in a band called The Brave, who are also pretty good too. They're a bit of a weapon in their own little niche, and they were playing at this big festival, and I was just watching one of the bands, and he came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, and he's like, hey man, you're PJ, aren't you? I love your videos, blah blah blah. We had this chat, and I was like, I just thought he was a viewer. I just thought he was a subscriber. And then, I started to ask a little about him, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm playing later today. And I was like, what band are you playing in? He's like, The Brave. And then I realized it was Kurt Thompson at Kurtogram on Instagram, and he's actually a gun photographer. But we became good friends, and we've hung out a few times since, because he just took all of his ego away and he just didn't make it about him. There was no insecurity. He just, made sincere and honest conversation, and paid me some nice compliments and made me feel good about myself, and honestly that made me admire him even more. So that's definitely one thing that I would say. Take out the ego, approach people from an honest and sincere place. Don't just give empty compliments and flattery. No one likes that. That doesn't get you anywhere. But if you have something nice that you can say about someone's work, absolutely say it, and just don't make the relationship about you. In terms of clients, again, I can only kind of really talk about music because that's what I do, Connie, that's what I've done. But I'd say you just need to start with the smallest bands on the bill, and you need to work out who their friends are. And the easiest thing to do, the easiest thing that I used to do, is organize with the band to take some shots of them, like some promo shots on the day of the shoot, outside the venue or, before the shoot, around the venue somewhere. If you can get a couple of those shoots on your belt, then it's really easy to get in with those friends' bands. Even the smaller bands, they have their little cliques, they have their little groups of bands that they play their smaller shows with, and word travels quickly. If you can do a couple of shoots for free and make some friends in the music scene that way, then you can kind of expand and work your way up a little bit, because that person will know someone who knows someone else who knows someone else. So the thing, if you can get to some local shows, again, I'm only assuming that you shoot music, but get to some local shows or some local events and put yourself out there a little bit. You can organize it beforehand on Facebook or whatever, and that's the best way that I have found to network in the music scene, at least. You have to tell me, Connie, if there's something else, if you're not involved with music, if you shoot something else, let me know, and perhaps we can have a chat further about this one-on-one. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Daniel Mcpherson, how much free work is too much free work? ? In all capitals. Help me prove a point to my TOG friends who kill themselves for exposure that never pays. @_MD imagery_. Thank you for the question, Daniel. I appreciate your involvement, my friend. This is one that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, the free work thing. My gut feeling is that if you don't have the clients and jobs to get paid work, then you haven't done enough free work to be good enough to get paid. Does that make sense? So the reason we do free work is for exposure, right? It's to pad out our portfolio, to have some pieces of work that are of a high enough quality that we can present them to other people in order to try and get paid. That's the way I look at it, right? So if you are sick of working for free, it means perhaps you haven't improved enough, or perhaps you haven't, paid your dues or put in the time to make a good enough product from that free work that people want to pay you. I hate to say it, but the cheaper shoots, when you're shooting pictures for $100 or $150 for a photo shoot, the clients aren't as good. And I don't mean the bands aren't as cool, or they're not as nice people, but as clients, they're just much harder to work with. People that pay less, they have less money, first of all, so that's why they pay less for shoots, but they're just more difficult clients. I honestly find the more money that a band spends on a shoot, the more they're willing to put in from their end as well. Not just financially, they'll sort their shit out with clothing and props and makeup, and they'll scout locations, and they'll just be generally a better client. So the short answer, the best answer that I can think of straight off the top of my head is you need to do free work until your work is at a level where people want to pay you. If that means you have to kind of, prune the weeds, prune the hedges a little bit to get rid of some of the, freeloaders. You might have some friends bands that expect you to work for free. You just have to let them know that your time is valuable, and unfortunately you won't be able to do that anymore. You might lose a few clients, but I think in the long run, I've never regretted overquoting for a job. In fact, 2 or 3 of the bands that I can think of that I'm actually pretty good friends with have turned me down in the past and gone with someone else and gotten a subpar product, only to come back to me 6 months later and pay me the full fee. I think quality over quantity, quality it speaks for itself. If you make a good product, it speaks for itself, and I think the money will follow. Thank you for the question, man. That was actually a really good one. 2 more, I think. Maddie Pleash, what's your view on studying photography? Do you think that it is necessary and helpful, or do you think it should be self-taught? @Maddie Pleash on Instagram. Maddie, I have a few thoughts on this. I'm not sure if you've listened to my podcast, but it used to be a recurring theme in a lot of my episodes. In fact, I think I might have at one point asked all of my guests what they thought about studying photography. My my stance on it is, and personally I've never studied photography. I studied business at school, I studied marketing. But my view on it is that if you study photography, the likelihood is that you're probably going to develop someone else's style. You know, if you're taught a certain way at RMIT or PSC or any of these like reputable photography institutions, sometimes I see that my friends that have gone through those courses, they get limited or constrained to what they've been taught by their lecturer or tutors or whatever. Personally, I think the most important skill that you can have, regardless of if you are taught traditionally, you know, through university, or if you've, you know, self-taught or through YouTube or whatever, is you need to have the skill of being able to teach yourself. You need to be unconstrained in that way that you can think outside of just the rules in a textbook. And this is kind of in my opinion, it's kind of the downfall of the traditional model, because if the entire way that you've learned photography, or any skill for that matter, applies to music as well, if the only way that you've learned that instrument is through those half an hour or hour sessions with someone else, where they literally pipe information into you and you just have to learn how to apply it based on the information they've given you, then if that's the only way you can learn, I'm sorry to say, but you won't get very far, because, you know, you're limiting yourself to someone else. Someone else is the factor of how far you can go in photography. The most important skill to have, regardless of how you're taught, is how to teach yourself. Because if you are constantly hungry to improve and learn more and just seek out knowledge, then I think you're just leaps and bounds ahead of other photographers. So personally, I would have actually loved to study photography. In fact, halfway through my business degree, I thought about dropping out and starting photography, but I'm actually glad that I didn't, because as it stands, I love to teach myself new things in photography, and I just am not constrained by anything. I don't have these rules and guidelines that I was set by someone else to stop me. So in my opinion, I think you don't need it. However, not everyone can learn on their own, but I would just keep an open mind and just be wary. Thanks for the question, Maddie. Appreciate it. Last one. Oh my goodness. Kaisa, how do I say your last name? Is it Vives or Vives? Or you have to let me know. At Isamar_V93 on Instagram. Kaisa, equipment versus talent and how to manage the pricing struggle. Okay, there's a lot in that. Equipment versus talent. Look, I want to say it's all talent, but there is a little bit of a balance. Good photographers will make good photos with good equipment. Great photographers will make good photos with average equipment. If you have a great photographer and great equipment, you'll make outstanding photos. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, they are tools, but the tools do help you create at a higher level. You know, a longer lens might be better for a portrait traditionally, but can you take good portraits with a 24mm or 35mm? Of course you can. It's a little bit of a balance. At a certain point, you need to have both, but you need to learn how to create with less if you want to be good at creating with more. That's kind of like my pithy, off the dome answer, but I think it's true. How to manage the pricing struggle. I'm going to be really quick with this one because this probably deserves a video in and of itself, but I don't have the time or the voice left to answer it properly. Kaiser, probably the best advice I can give you on that is whatever you're comfortable with charging, just charge a little bit more. If it's $100, charge $130. If it's $150, charge $190. If it's $200, charge $225. The other thing that you'll notice is all of those prices that I just mentioned, they're weird, odd numbers. They're not just clean $200, $250, $300, $500, $1,000. In my opinion, if you charge a little bit more than what you're comfortable charging, it's not unreasonable to go $20 more than what you might be comfortable asking someone, but in all likelihood, it's not going to make a big difference and you'll probably get that anyway. And if you charge a weird amount, in my opinion, your quotes come through more because it seems like you've put more thought into it. If I charge 110 instead of 100, it looks like, okay, he's not just rounding up, he has a reason for that price. And, you know, you can justify it any way you want. You can justify it in terms of, you know, hours spent working on it, travel time, equipment, whatever. However you need to justify to the client, that's kind of up to you. But I like to do weird, uneven numbers. And as weird as it sounds, I think it actually makes the clients feel more at ease paying for a shoot if they think you're not just rounding up to the nearest whole round number. Also, how to export properly so you can get sharp images. I don't know why I haven't been able to do so. I've seen people uploading from phones and still are very sharp images. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Kaiser, it kind of depends where you're uploading. Facebook has their own settings that are just always changing. Personally, I just don't bother. If it's for web, you can export at 72 dpi. Most of these platforms will crush your photos to 72 dpi anyway, so you may as well do it properly coming out of Lightroom or Capture One. Usually, honestly, in Lightroom, I just will constrain my photos to, I'll get them, you know, under 5 megabytes and set them to 72 dpi. If it's something for my website, or if it's something for print, I don't mind if it's a bigger file, or if it's print, you definitely want to be at 300 dpi. But I don't know what you're doing. If it depends where it's going. Like I said, if you're uploading to Instagram, I would definitely think about the 8:10 ratio. Things just look better and sharper and just more rich and colorful if you use up the whole screen. And let's be honest, most of our photos are viewed on a small screen now. Yeah, that's the best advice I'd give. Think about shooting for the right platform. If you're going to shoot for Instagram, think about doing the verticals for the 8:10. Facebook, same if it's going to be viewed on a screen, but you know, for your portfolio, which you'd hope would be viewed from a website, from a desktop, you know, maybe think about landscapes. It's hard to say. On a screen, you can keep it down to 72 dpi though. Your images will still be high quality, they'll be sharp, they'll be good, but there'll be less for these platforms like Facebook to compress. And then you just have to Google what the specifications are for each specific platform. I think Facebook had like 2048 on the long edge and 72 dpi. That was the last one I can remember, but I don't know if it's changed since then. Thank you for the question, Kaiser. Appreciate you so much. Okay. This has been a long video. If you've stayed to the end, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Join the Legends Club on Facebook, and next time we have one of these videos, you can submit a question and be featured as well. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.